All right, so I've had an absolute nightmare getting this one recorded. This will be my 6th attempt. Anyway, hopefully this will be the magic number. UFC 294 has just finished taking place. It was a pretty decent card overall. There were some highs, some lows, some valuable moments. I did make a shitload of money on this one though. So despite not getting the ending that I was hoping for, can always be happy about that. Before I continue, can everyone make sure they're subscribing and commenting, sharing the video if you don't mind. It's really helping with the algorithm and helping to push things up a little bit. I really appreciate everyone that's been getting actively involved and especially commenting on the channel. Keep it up, guys. Alright, so I made a joke in the build-up that Redbeard Magomedov looked like a pirate from the 1600s, and I nearly swallowed my tongue when the man came out wearing Zorro's do-rag. A great opening fight though. Magomedov is pretty fun to watch. He threw a variety of wild kicks and strikes that left Silva frozen like Elsa. I'm sorry. He showed magnificent cardio and a great chin, and it's just, as I said, really fun to watch. He really brings the fight. Now, there is a downside to his style. He has zero takedown defense, no sign of sprawling, looked like a fish on a bicycle on the ground. Having said that, he was so active from bottom position with elbows and punches, and he seemed pretty happy to chill down there. It was more than enough to get a UD win, but it is something to think about, as against better dudes, he's probably going to get curb stomped if he takes that approach. If Silva can get you down, then, well, so can anyone in the division. Yeah, Dudakova ended this as a -600 favorite going into this. I want you to take a moment to think about how silly that actually is. Now, the first round was pretty close, with both women pretty active. The round was punctuated, though, at the end, when Dudakova landed a really nice check right that sat Frey on her bum. Now, she did get really good corner advice, who advised her to take the Russian down, which she duly did at the beginning of the round, controlling and winning the second, so good round for Frey. Now, Dudakova was clearly expecting this in the third round, and after stuffing an early takedown, pieced her up at range for the majority of the round. A pretty clear win. Harsh on Jinyu Frey, who, as I said, has a better record than is suggested, but she's going to be cut, and well, fuck her, right? I gave this fight credit for not killing the mood, and I will take that. Yeah, this one was a robbery, plain and simple. Naimov did everything from the Tim Elliot playbook. I'll get to him in a moment. Cracker of a fight. First round, both men dropped each other, but Naimov stopped a takedown by grabbing the cage and hit the most blatantly flagrant knee to the balls I've ever seen. Second round, Wood gets kicked in the balls again. No point, Doc. Why? Then, to compound matters, Naimov grabs the cage again as he's being taken down, following up with a takedown of his own about a minute later to control and win the round. Wood looked great when he let his hands go, and I love the little trips he uses to get takedowns. They're very slick, but the ref on this one was an absolute disgrace. The third was a close and tough one to call, I admit, but personally I thought Wood landed more against the fence. Now, Naimov did get the UD win on the scorecard for basically winning the rounds he cheated in. For once it was the ref's fault though, not the judges. I called it right, but it feels a little bit disgusting. Alright, I said we would have to wait until the next fight for Jubli to get embarrassed and fraud checked. My mistake. First 2 rounds he looked fairly competent. He was mixing strikes and clearly outpointing Breeden, who, let's be honest, absolutely sucks. So no big whoop on that. Now, the talk leading into this was that Breeden missed weight due to a training accident and was sporting a stitched injury above his eye. Oliveira, take note, sir. You ruined the card. And Jubli opened this up with a cross in the second round that frankly looked disgusting. He had this big flap of skin just hanging off. Clearly, Jubli was 2 rounds up at this point. Then the third happens, and well, Breeden landed a few, started gaining confidence. Jubli was clearly at 0 HP, and Breeden eventually caught him, knocking him out in the third. Then cue the insufferable mic talk. The man literally called himself the best in the world, which is just sickening. I didn't bet on Jubli, and I told you not to, but I did officially pick him, so sorry for that one. You can't get styled on by Mike Breeden at any point in the fight and expect to be retained, Indian market or not. Goodbye. Alright, highlight of this fight was a hair pull. I'm not even joking. I'm not going to waste too much time on this. It really doesn't deserve it. And I can summarize it pretty well in like 3 sentences. If it doesn't sound all that exciting, good. I've nailed it. Dumas got a takedown in the first round and landed a few tippy-tap shots. Azaitar outlanded slightly in the second, where neither man got hurt. Third round, Dumas stuck his jab more visibly, so won that round. Azaitar did the dirtbag move, and grabbed the hair in the second, I think it was. It was equal portions of scummy and funny, and he deserves to lose just for that. I can't remember ever seeing that, so I can rub that one off the ridiculous MMA bingo card. This fight was adequate enough not to completely kill the card, but not good enough to be worth anything to anyone. Moving on. Alright, this one is going to be contentious for some people, and I'll get to that. First round was pretty tentative. Both men were feeding each other out, in my view. Basharat won the round by landing a nice spinning back kick that clipped the chin, and for also catching a kick and landing a takedown off it. Now, ultimately, this takedown didn't really lead anywhere, but with no damage done to either man, those two moments kind of edged it for me. Then about 10 seconds into the second round, Basharat lands a leg inside the thigh. Sorry, a kick inside the thigh that was deemed to be low. Replay suggested that it grazed the bottom of the sack at best. More surprisingly, after the 5 minutes allotted time ran out, the fight was called a no contest. It was a really disappointing end, but it was funny watching the doctor explain to Henry that he didn't get kicked in the balls while he rolled around holding his sack. It was hardly a bloodline ender in my view, but whatever, dude. Yeah, this was a bizarre one as well. I was very excited for the fight that essentially pitted the redneck versus the inbred mongoloid. Let's be real, they're probably both inbred. But this turned out to be a generally disappointing fight. We did see some vintage peak for a few moments, where he swung and threw some odd shit, but generally he opted for wrestling and cage control, which, to put it lightly, was just disappointing. It wasn't a terrible fight by any means, and Peak got it done. Maybe we're seeing a new wrinkle to his game, which isn't a bad thing. I personally think it is. But Yahya is very average, and as I said, if he wasn't from Abu Dhabi or Dubai or wherever, he would not have been on this card. I will take the W though. Yeah, gay corn. This was gay corn. Not that I know that much about it. I've only stumbled on it a few times by accident. I swear. Anyway, this fight took place entirely on the ground for pretty much 13 minutes. Won't really surprise anyone. Elliot is a really tricky customer, and there were a few incidents in the fight where he was tugging, gay corn reference again, hoisting Mokaev up as he tried to stay safe with grounded hands to allow knees, which is just as smart and crafty as it gets in there. Mokaev spent the majority of the fight on top, not really doing much in between, so how this was going to be scored is anyone's guess. Now, mercifully for us all, Elliot got caught slipping for a second, giving Mokaev the time he needed to apply a ground arm-in choke on the ground to get a submission. He called for a title shot, which, to be honest, is kind of funny. It's one of the deepest divisions in the sport, and you are barely out of nappies, and you just cracked the top 10. Calm down, Junior. Nice scalp, though. Alright, Gufarov might look like a sex pest, but he certainly doesn't fight like one. I don't even know where to start. Firstly, I love Saeed Nurmagomedov. Doesn't say brother at the end of every sentence, and actually takes hard fights against top contenders and fights regularly. I'm amazed his brothers haven't disowned him for showing them up. Gufarov tried to be aggressive, and God bless him, we all love a trier, but he stuck his neck out into the danger zone and got locked in a standing gilly and pretty much choked out. Sorry if that sounds too easy. The fight was barely a minute long. Saeed is good and isn't a pussy, and I hope he does really well moving forward. Yeah, this one was pretty brutal. Warley is a pretty tough guy, or they kept saying that over and over in the build-up, but the end came pretty quickly after Aliskerov stunned him with a jab and then landed an absolutely filthy flying knee that landed flush on the chin. Knowing he had him screwed, Aliskerov started winging shots, and Alves had no choice but to crumble to the ground and surrender. The ref rightly stepped in. Now, as impressive as this win was, Alves is a welterweight, but I expect Aliskerov is going to get a severe test next time out. Maybe they punish Costa and remake that fight. I'd probably go for that. Decent win that led to the next 3. Yeah, seeing as Felder's key to victory for Walker was B. Johnny Walker, followed by Cormier's key to victory for Ankalaev, which was to remind everyone that he's Ankalaev, it kind of made me feel great about my highly unprofessional breakdowns at times, and raised my belief that I might actually have a future analysing this sport for lap dances. It's how I like to be paid. What the fuck? Anyway, just when we thought things could not get more fucking stupid in this sport, we reach a new height of idiocy. Now, after a little bit of a feeling out process, where Walker targeted the legs and did Johnny Walker type things, you know, he played possum trying to land a knee in the gut, for example, before missing and then getting taken down. Now, from this, Ankalaev landed an illegal knee as Johnny Walker tried to get up. Cool. But the doctor then comes in to check on Walker, and with basically no time gone, and what was a very kind of bizarre, strange conversation between the two of them, he calls the fight off. Now, both men then tried to fight each other, and then chaos ensued. Now, I've looked at every replay, and this might be a little bit controversial, but I think Walker might have been fishing for a DQ. Then he tried to act like the tough guy and act like there was a mix-up when the fight was going to be called a no contest. It was the second of the night, which is really disappointing. Frankly, these fighters know the rules by now, and that knee landed flush. If anything, it probably should have been a DQ. But, you know, what a shit show anyway. Disappointing. All right, play the clip of my breakdown on this one. Yeah, I'm joking. I'm way too lazy for that. Take my word for it, though. It was perfect. Or better yet, just watch the video again. I have a big problem with the outcome of this one. Now, Chimaev got Usman down and threatened ground and pound in round 1. Did threaten some subs as well, but he barely landed anything. So in what fucking universe is that a 10-8? Anyway, round 2, they both fucking stared at each other for 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Like an awkward first date. But Usman actually managed to land the only strikes of the round, so clearly edged it. You could not give that round to Chimaev. Now, the third round is arguably the most contentious for most people, but is it really? Kamaru was landing the jab and backing Chimaev up. He stuffed 2 takedowns, and when Chimaev finally did take him down, he did less than nothing on top. Kamaru then fought out and finished the round stronger. I honestly thought that Usman won the fight 2-1. Was it an outright robbery? Not really. All of this hinged on that first round being a 10-8, which all the judges unanimously agreed on. So there must be something they're not telling us. You can't convince me it was based on what we all know. My parlay came through on this one, though, so I guess I shouldn't be too salty. Yeah, I'm not even going to pretend to hide my disappointment on this one. I can't really blame Volk for going for it. You've got to dare to be great. But you got caught and starched in there. And the worrying thing for Volk fans now is that this might be the beginning of a really bad slide for him. Despite DC not riding hard in there, I thought Volk was doing pretty well in the clinch, landing knees. He looked really strong. But Makhachev clearly had a game plan to go low to the legs and then aim up high, which he did beautifully. He caught Volkanovski on the side of the temple, who was stunned, dropped, and then got pretty much finished with ground and pound. He was still kind of coherent in there, but it was a really good stoppage. Have to give credit to Islam for a really good performance. But as I said, it was really disappointing. Volkanovski came in there looking a little bit flabby. Clearly wasn't ready for the fight. Not making excuses for the guy. But the real shame for everyone is that this puts an end to the rivalry. You can't really justify doing it again. And by the time Volkanovski fights his way up to getting that fight again, he's probably going to be 37, 38. And there's going to be even less point to doing it. He's probably ruined his chances to be GOAT of the sport. But hey, if he'd won it, it would have been undoubtable in my mind. So really good win for Makhachev. Puts a stopper in the rivalry. Took me to 10-2. I was willing to take a risk on it. But again, didn't bet on it. Just enjoyed the fight for what it was. Alright, so here's a breakdown of the weekend picks. The only 2 I got wrong were the Breeden moneyline and the Makhachev moneyline. But everything else went really, really well. We had a few no contests chucked in there. And as I said, made some really good money on there. I went 10-2 on the card, which is obviously great. I've been on an incredible streak lately. So my overall records rounds off at 277, 124. I'm stuck on 69%. It is my favorite number, as I've said before, so I'll take it. I will be back on Tuesday to break down. I'm not even sure if there is a card next weekend. To be honest, I'm still kind of rattled from this one. I've got no idea what's coming next. But either way, you'll get some news and there's some new shit coming to the channel in the next couple of weeks.